Hello everyone, and, welcome to my, what should we call this, commentary Let's Play on the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. Gee, I'm a little awkward at this at first, because I haven't done anything like this before. But I guess, as I start up, I should probably talk a little bit about why I'm doing this. I first played Morrowind, probably not 10 years ago, but a while back, when I wasn't so old and experienced. And the first time, I really didn't know what to make of it. I feel like I kind of dicked around a bit, you know, did some quests, but didn't really have any idea what was going on. But just sort of remembered that it was, like, big and mysterious. Like, I feel like the strongest impression the game made upon playing it the first time was that sense of mystery. Like, Vardenfell is this land shrouded in a perpetual fog.
Stand up.
And as you, like,
You were dreaming. Once you
stumble across what's kind of like a dreamscape, you're, like, inundated with a world that you don't really understand. And, like, even though very little else about the game kind of stuck in some ways, like, I definitely remembered that. And I also remembered sort of the mystery of the world itself as, like, an incomprehensible place. So about 5 years ago, I would say, I ended up picking it up again, and the second time I played Morrowind was like a revelation. Sorry, I'm just leaving it on this screen for a while I finish this up. And how should I put it? It's like I actually sat down and engaged with the game, and I realized that all those things that seemed so weird and interesting could be explored, and when they were, it just became so much richer. And so the idea behind this is sort of, I'm going to take this game with another spin, but kind of from the perspective of someone encountering the world for the first time, but not actually kind of a re-encountering of Morrowind, where I'm going to be really looking at how this world is constructed. And so, for my character, I'm going with something that I haven't tried before, which would be a mage. Which is apparently ridiculously hard and unbalanced in this game.
quiet. Here comes the guard. This is where you get off. Come with me.
but I sort of wanted to explore some quests that I'd never done before. Like, I've never been Telvanni. And I feel like that's going to be the central quest line I might take with this, along with the Mages Guild and probably the Temple. On the other hand, I'll definitely be avoiding guilds that don't sort of fit in with the character scheme, like the fighters or thieves, and no Imperial cult either. I'm sort of picturing here like an Outlander Dunmer.
You finally arrived, but our records don't show.
Who comes to sort of really embrace their inner Dunmer, as it were. Like the kind of values of traditional Dunmer, at least as interpreted by Telvanni.
Head on in.
So, traditional Dunmer who are assholes.
Yes, we've been expecting you. You'll have to be recorded before you're officially released.
Ah, yes, my papers.
The choice is yours.
Now, I did a quick run-through before this to sort of figure out all these things. But basically, I'm going all mage. Really hard, and so this will be, interesting, to say the least. Except for athletics, because that is not an optional skill in this game. Mysticism, what am I missing? Destruction, alteration, restoration. Okay, I want conjuration. I don't really have a use for illusion. Ah, yes, speechcraft was going to be... all Telvanni have to be, well-versed in politics and the ways of the world. And I guess one of my goals for this is really to look at the world design of Morrowind, if I said that already, and focus really closely on how it's building its environment, not just as a simulated space, but as like a living space. That's not right. I'm interested in much with how it populates environments with objects as how it populates its environments with ideas. Because Morrowind, one of the best parts about it is how it populates a world that's really rich with meaning. I believe Ken Ralston in one of the interviews that came out before the game said, like, I want to make a game where you can spend as much time learning about slavery as delving in dungeons. And I just think that's really cool. Come on, what was the last skill I was going for? I guess I'll do alchemy.
Very good. The letter that preceded you mentioned you were born under a certain sign. And what would that be?
Oh, definitely the apprentice.
Interesting. Now, before I stamp these papers, make sure this information is correct.
Without a magic birth sign, you're basically... Oops, I misspelled my name. Veloth, after the saint who led the Dunmer away from the wicked land of the Altmer. What? See, I didn't get mysticism. Yeah, I don't really need mysticism.
Show your
Okay, gotta take my papers. My release identification. And see, even here we've got such attention to detail. Like, they make me pick up this document that's written and formatted like, it's part of an official bureaucracy. In the name of His Majesty Uriel the Seventh, Emperor of Tamriel, yada yada yada. Looking around this room, one of the other things I find really interesting is, right here, we have a set of a brief history of the Empire. So, assuming, like, someone's been landed in this game, the first time, kind of like the Nerevarine themselves, the player has no idea where they are, who any of these people are, what any of this is. And so you kind of just get, like, shuffled around this process, and I feel like most people, like myself, would never even think to, like, look back here, much less spend half an hour before finishing the tutorial reading every volume of A Brief History of the Empire. But I think that's interesting that that's the first book you encounter in the game. I'm not even sure if I can read it yet. Oh, yes, I can. But it's also a full set, which indicates that it may have been placed here to sort of help ease people into the world, but for the most part, kind of, books are often placed at what seems like at random, so by the time you've actually gotten your bearings, to think to look for something like A Brief History of the Empire, you'd probably, well, you're definitely well past this, and would not think to come back to the first room in the game to look for it. Or, I don't know, maybe you would.
The next building and talk to Celisgravius.
So they're shuffling me around here. Tapestries, a room. See, what I usually consider to be the first book in the game, and sort of like the first chance you're given, or the first time you're, engagement with sort of the written lore or background of the game, is here you can read a copy of The Firmament, which is about the burst signs. And it's sort of, it's a slightly more expanded rationale, for the burst sign I had to pick earlier, and it explains, how should I put it? I feel like in some ways the importance of the firmament is that it points towards that there's meaning in everything. But the second piece of writing is a note to Hriskar. Don't think I've forgotten our wager. I want this dagger sharp as a scamp's claw by morning. So, interesting things about this. Like, we get some of our first introduction to, like, the language and things that populate Vardenfell, like a scamp. And Hriskar, for example, and Gansiel, are both, NPCs who are actually out there in the Skadanine, which is the town where we've set down. And so, like, this isn't just a note attached to nothing and a dagger out of nowhere, but even these, like, small environmental cues, how should I put it, are sort of building a story about what kind of place this is. That connects really strongly with all the other elements. So I'll take this, gotta equip my dagger. Yes, I know how to fight. Large Kwama egg. I don't think I'm going to steal anything from this room this time, despite the fact that it used to be a good opening strategy was just to take literally everything that isn't nailed down in this census office, so you have a little bit more spending money at the way beginning of the game. That being said, I don't really feel like my character seems too proud to steal for chump change. But, you know, hey, if there's a magic ring in a barrel, which is gonna make me take anyway, maybe that might come in handy. Ah yes, Celisgravius. Takes my identification papers. Background. I'm here to welcome you to Morrowind. Ah yes, the title of the game. Yes, you're in Morrowind. I don't know why you're here. introduced to the Empire, sort of the primary player in the game, immediately. Package came with news of your arrival. They don't even tell us where to find Caius Cosades. They tell us that we can find out where to find him in the South Wall Corner Club. Like, one of the best descriptions I ever heard of quests in Morrowind is that, they're designed to point you to places and to have you interact with the world. So instead of, like, putting a little marker atop Caius Cosades' head, like, you have to go through this intermediary, in sort of the process of organically experiencing the kind of place that, Vardenfell is. So tell me a little bit more about Balmora. Give us ridiculously overcomplicated directions, but of course you need that for everything. Ah yes, the Silt Striders. One of your first experiences in this game is riding in a hollowed-out bug. Beast by directly manipulating exposed organs and tissues. Ugh. Alright, yes, Uriel Septim is still the Emperor, in case you know you played Daggerfall. Personally authorized your release from prison. It's all very mysterious, but that's the way the Empire works. Silence, secrecy. Let not the left hand know what the right hand is doing. So already we know that the Empire is massive and a huge bureaucracy. And even its loyal servants sort of have a realistic kind of world weariness about how it operates like a massive institution. Because there's definitely a very real sense in this game that the Empire isn't an institution, you know? It has minor functionaries, as we've seen before, guards, knight-errants, yourself, the Blades, like... Unlike many fantasy worlds, like, Vardenfell is definitely populated with the kind of people you need to keep a world running, and not just, like, merchants who sell weapons and, and kings who conveniently give out quests to save the world. And that can also be seen through, things like the fact that we just stepped out of, a Census and Exiles warehouse. Like, when was the last time that you didn't just interact, with a bureaucrat, but interacted with, like, kind of a very mundane thing, like Census and Exiles? With both an indication that the Empire keeps extensive records to sort of function, and also, that it has, like, a revenue source here. So already, even before we've talked to anyone in the proper game, we've had a chance to learn what's actually a great deal about the kind of world we're in. And I feel like I've talked enough for this first play session or introduction. And so next segment I'll be back, sort of wandering and exploring this jump-off area of Skedanin. Thanks for tuning in, as it were.